Well, we started off the season premiere of American Horror Story Apocalypse with the end, so I guess it's only fitting we see what happens the morning after, which is the title of this week's episode. And also, I think while it stands on its own, I think it's a good second half of a 1-2 combination with the series premiere. I'm not going to say that there is a lot that happens in this episode, and for those of you who are Murder House and Coven fans and are expecting just to see everybody on board at the same time, you may not be the biggest fan of this episode, but we started getting little leads in and little teases and things like that. That just has me excited. You know, I find it interesting. I found this episode to be annoying in the right ways because I am getting a buildup of anticipation. I like where they are going with this and the pace so far. I'm always concerned sometimes that Ryan Murphy can wait too long to move forward on things or just stockpile too much stuff up and then just have to spend so much time cleaning up at the end. But so far, I mean, granted, only 2 episodes in, I do like the pace that we are going at so far. Couple of highlights before I get into some of the very big question marks that are going to be hopefully answered as these episodes unravel. Performance-wise, Cody Fern, there's no other way for me to put it. He as Michael Langdon, he's just on point. It was great doing the live blog because on social media you saw how much he was connecting with men and women on the audience on so many levels. He was chewing up the scenes and holding his own with everybody. I think his best representation of the antichrist is this idea of he says the nice things and says the pleasant things and whispers in everybody's ear, but at the end of the day, he doesn't actually do so much as he gives everybody the tools and gives them the choices to do with what they want, which, again, I think he portrays fabulously. He also has that nice, like, British glam rocker look going on, too. That very, like, fluid sexuality thing that was going on. And I've said this before in live blog, I'll say it again. Anybody who wasn't at least a little turned on by that whole Evan Peters scene with Rubberman is just doesn't have a pulse. I just want to put that out there. Just to finish up on Cody Fern, the scenes with Sarah Paulson as Venable and with Evan Peters as Gallant. Again, instances where he held his own with some quality actors, and I loved the way that it showed Michael Langdon going with these two strong characters and just being able to strip them down to their emotional basics just by knowing such basic things about them. He references having a file at one point, and I think the file he has is the file of knowing just what human nature is and being able to read people and see how they're going to react when certain strings are plucked. And you know, he was plucking strings pretty well in this episode. Other performances I want to mention: Leslie Grossman as Coco and Joan Collins as Grandma. Just opposite ends of the spectrum of just pure cattiness. I could just listen to those two go back and forth. The scene with Coco and Mallory and Grandma and Dinah about generations and the references to the Chris's, I thought was especially nice touch. But their skills with just wording is just amazing. Joan Collins can do so much with just dry few words, and yet Leslie Grossman can just machine gun rat-a-tat-tat words that just the comment about, you know, Grandma being in her 50s when Elvis took his last poop. I'm going to go with poop because I know language, I might get in trouble. Yeah, I know. But I thought that was particularly quality. The question marks that came up I thought were very interesting. The snakes. Now I'm going to work under the assumption that the snakes are represented by Michael Langdon and the Antichrist and the whole idea of the devil and the snakes in supposed Eden and everything that comes into play. But I'm wondering if there's not some other representation there also. Jim Croce time in a bottle. Maybe it's just me reading too much into it, but I've been feeling all along that there's going to have to be some kind of time travel rewrite thing that's going to have to come into play. One, based on some of the scenes, unless a lot of these are flashbacks, but also, again, for those of you who know the hotel season, you know that there's that little thing that happens where we see something, I think it's 2022 it is, with Sarah Paulson and some of our casts and visiting demonic ghostly serial killers. So we know there has to come into play. So he's just going to write that off, or if there's going to be some type of correcting. I just felt like there may have been some type of clue there. The White Witch, Stevie Nicks, Coven's coming. We know this already, but I just found myself mouthing and singing along with the words. It was just fantastic to see. I thought it was, even though I suspected it, just the realization and that look on Langdon's face of curiosity, like to Gallo, like I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't the Rubber Man. Now we're assuming it's Tate. Screwed up theory if it ended up being good old Ben Harmon doing McDermott's character in the costume also, which could raise a lot of other questions. But just think about this. You had Tate having sex with Gallant, both played by Evan Peters. I imagine that's mind screwy on a whole bunch of levels. And finally, but definitely not last, and definitely not least, Miriam and the gunshot and that fluid and the wiring and everything else that really reminded me a lot of Alien when he gets I forget the actor's name, and it's killing me right now that I can't remember the actor's name. When he gets his head knocked off and we find out that he's the cyborg android and there's stuff spewing everywhere. That's the first thing I thought. And I'm thinking, wow, we have a ton of questions. On top of the fact that we've got internet that seems to be working a lot longer than it was supposed to. Again, so many questions that are coming to play that I think were just great for this episode. The morning after I thought was really on point. We saw on social media that it looks like that we're going to start getting some more specific answers next week, which I'm hoping for. Because these first 2 episodes have really done a great job in building up the mystery and giving us some really interesting characters to care about as we start getting more and more of the characters that we know reintroduced. But now, I think it's 8 episodes left, now is when I'm really looking forward to see it starting to pick up steam, and it needs to pick up steam because I think 8 episodes now is a good run to get us where we're going. But so far, so good. 2 episodes in, 2 excellent episodes run so far.